Open your mouth. Spread your legs. Clear. Let's go.
What up? You already know it's your boy Pistol Pete. Welcome back to Dog in the Yard. Today we got Dennis in the building. Dennis served 22 years. He was given executive clemency from the governor's office 2019. He was released from Sing Sing. And with that being said, let's get right to it, man. You already know it's your boy Pistol Pete, Dog in the Yard. Yo, what up, what up? You already know it's your boy Pistol Pete. Welcome back to Dog in the Yard. Today we got Dennis in the building. What's up, Dennis?
Good.
Pleasure,
What's up, brother?
How's everything, man?
Everything's good. Thank you for having me.
You already know, man. Where you from?
I'm from Brooklyn originally, but right now I'm living in Poughkeepsie.
In Poughkeepsie.
Upstate New York, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's where I came home to.
Okay. Well, that's definitely a change.
Yeah, it
From
is.
Brooklyn to Poughkeepsie, right?
Especially after 22 years.
Yeah. Well, you probably need that anyway. You don't need to be back in Brooklyn, even though Brooklyn changed.
Yeah.
It's really nice now. A lot of places, you know, so can't really knock Brooklyn either. So Dennis, tell me a little bit about you, man. You know, your background, a little bit about you. Run down just briefly about your upbringing, where you was raised, and and what led you to start getting yourself in trouble.
Yeah. So I'm from the Prospect Heights section of Brooklyn. That's where the Barclay Center is at.
Okay.
That's where I grew up. I grew up in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. So as you know, that's considered like the crack era.
Mm-hmm.
So the streets of Brooklyn was really rough. I think the murder rate around that time was like probably 2,000 a year, 19 something. It was high and it was bad. And as a shorty growing up in Brooklyn, I faced a lot of challenges, namely violence. You know, it was hard to walk down the street and not be challenged or tested in some way. Where I'm from, they used to play the knockout game where, you might be walking down the street, minding your business. There might be a crew or a gang, and one of them might walk up to you and just see if they can knock you out with one punch.
Those just kind of adolescent games that I was playing.
Yeah, it wasn't me playing it. It was me. I'm going to keep it 100. A lot of that was targeted at me. I was a young kid. I was innocent, wasn't into the streets, and that was me growing up and losing my innocence. It started off with me being targeted and me being bullied, and then me taking what was done to me, internalizing it, and then doing it to other people. But at that time, it wasn't me playing a game with nobody else. It was me growing up the hard way.
Okay. Yeah, you was actually doing the right thing, and people was actually bullying you and shit like that, and then that turned you into, as I guess, a bully as well.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. The schools that I went to was like Rikers Island. You know what I mean? Like, eventually when I would get locked up, I would experience something where, like, we may be in the Brooklyn House of Detention. Then one day you're told you're going to Rikers Island.
Okay, but as far as your upbringing.
Yeah, I was just trying to make a comparison. So when I was incarcerated, those were the experiences that I had. Was like, you're getting transferred to this jail or this prison. But when I was young, when I was a shorty growing up, we in the 6th grade, and okay, now you're finding out what school you're getting sent to. Or you're going to 265. Okay. And it was the same experience that I would later experience inside, where, you going to 265, and everybody get quiet. And kids start crying because of what school they going to. You going to 265, that's between Fort Greene and Farragut. You're going to have some problems.
Okay.
You better know how to fight.
I got you.
So that was the process that I went to, but it started as a shorty.
How old you was?
So that was when I was in the 6th grade, maybe 10 or 11, when I had those experiences.
Man, you was a real jit. I mean, to be going through that like in an early age and all that. Did you complain to your moms, your parents? Yeah.
So unfortunately, my dad, he left my mom's with 3 kids to raise on her own. My dad, unfortunately, thought it was okay to make a lot of kids and not necessarily stick around and support them. And my mom's, that weighed on her. So, like, you asked a good question, did I tell her? Yeah, but a lot of times she was busy dealing with the financial struggles of having 3 kids without a man to help her raise us.
She couldn't really take too much of her time to worry about what you was really going through, because she was worrying about survival.
Facts.
I get it.
And I didn't understand it at the time. I now know that it was likely depression that my mom was struggling with.
Yeah.
You know, but I saw that as my mom doesn't love me. You know.
You know, we don't, us as kids, you know, especially back in the days, because I'm from that era as well. And, you know, and I could relate. My mom, she couldn't really get a hold of or be there for me all the time, like the way I really probably expected her, or you know, because they was also dealing with their mental health as well. Yeah. A lot of our parents, a lot of people that we know from back, you know, they was dealing with mental health. That's and back in the days, it wasn't like one of those that we freely and we talk about like we talk about now. We talk about health now, like, oh, yo, go get some therapy, go get some, you know. Now it's all out open where we not no longer ashamed to more or less go to get counseling, get help and all that. Back in the days, you know, it wasn't none of that. And them, if it did, it was always, the help was always there, but the lack of education with our parents, you know, and to say, you know, I'm gonna go get that kind of help, that was they never moved like that. You know what I mean? So that kind of like, you know. Because that goes for a lot of us, you know, my moms, my dad, you know, the people struggle with mental health, you know what I'm saying? And that takes a toll on us as well, you know what I'm saying? So we have our own issues that we deal with as kids and all that growing up, and, you know. So did the bullying, I mean, like how long would, I mean, like how it used to happen? You used to go to school and like you used to get bullied on, they picked on you, like what was like?
Yeah, so, like when I went to my first junior high school, there was a gang that was there at that time, Decepticons. And I remember one kid came into the bathroom and he pulled out a machete out of his pants and told me, you know, he was basically trying to shake me down or put pressure on me. And then I got a safety transfer. I told my grandmother, they did something about it, and I got transferred out of 113, and I went to that school that I was speaking about earlier, 265.
To a worse school?
I went to a worse school. I went to the school that was between those two projects.
But let me ask you, what they wanted from you, like at that, like when he pressed you with what he wanted, like what was their goal? You don't know?
So around that time, like I was lost, and I was stealing money from out my house, taking money from my grandma's, and I was trying to buy friends. And then word got out to the wrong set of guys. It was like, oh, you got money. Oh. And they ran down on me for that.
Okay.
But like I said, I was 12, 13 going through this, and it was real, like a machete being pulled out on you in the bathroom in school. Like, you know, that was some serious stuff.
Yeah.
But then I went to 265, and that's the first time that I seen somebody get sliced open.
Wow.
In 265, I remember I'm sitting there in class, and a kid comes in, and he sits down, and then he has like a half moon. And dudes just did it to him for the sake of doing it. Like, he ain't do nothing to nobody. It was just, they just picked the herb.
They just picked the herb. Wow, so you was really like, what the fuck? I really got to watch myself in this spot. And how long you stay in that school and all that?
I was able to complete it. I also went through some changes. My uncle came to live with me, and my uncle was different. You know, my uncle was the one who taught me how to handle myself. He would, if anybody put their hands on me, there was a retaliation. My uncle taught me that every man needs a family outside of his family to help him deal with the streets. And my uncle had a family. He had a crew, and they carried guns. And if I got jumped on or anything, my uncle would come get me, get his peoples, and we would go back.
Well, at least you had to back up from your uncle because you ain't had your dad there. At least you had your uncle there. You know what I mean? To you know, to keep you going and teach you things that you probably didn't even know, or give you that support that you didn't have.
Yeah, it was a blessing and a curse in different ways. One, it was a blessing.
It was a person.
He was there. He took me places. He taught me. He had me reading books. Took me up to the mosque in Harlem. Made sure I had knowledge of self. Always was there to talk to me. You know, always available, emotionally and physically. But at the same time, my uncle was into the streets, and I saw that. I would go into his room, and I would see the guns. You know, I would hear them plotting on making certain moves, and I was again exposed to a higher level.
As a kid, you picking up everything.
Yeah,
you like,
and he was my role model. So I'm seeing this is what a man is. This is what I want to model myself.
This is what I want to be.
Yeah, my uncle was a gangster, and I wanted to be like him. You know, he was a family man. He was a good man, but he was also a gangster.
Yeah, he was outside.
He was outside.
I get you. So, what? At what point did you start getting yourself? You know that you went from being the victim in regards to getting bullied and all that, and you reversed that. Yeah,
around that time, I started to hang out with the wrong crowd. First, it started off light, smoking weed, drinking, cutting class, going to hooky parties. But then, now you start playing with guns. My friend got a gun, and I'm like, let me see that. And I'm like, and I'm not going to put this all off on hip-hop. I love hip-hop. But there was a time when I listened to hip-hop, and it gave me a lot of positive imagery, and it was conscious and stuff. But also around that time when I was coming of age, there was a lot of, throw your guns in the air and all this other stuff. And so I'm seeing
that
this
motivates
stuff.
you different ways
so
too.
It motivated me in a different way. So now I can get respect with this.
I got you.
I can get respect by being violent, by picking up a gun, by moving a certain way. I could make the same dudes that used to jump on me fear me. And I started to go that way. And then, the bad thing is when it works. When you do it, and then people start talking about you, and it's like, yo, you heard what he did?
You just keep going further.
You start going further.
Yeah. That's what happens. You don't got nobody really holding you down. You feeling yourself. You like, what? Now, I'm in control of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And you was what, 17?
Nah, that's younger than that when I started, maybe 15.
Wow.
When I turned 16, I started hustling for a neighborhood drug dealer.
Okay.
And that's where everything just went wrong. My uncle had got into some stuff, and there was a hit out on him, so he had to go down south. So now there's no man in the house to keep me in check. Even though I was already dabbling, now I'm really out there now because he's not around.
Yeah, because he's your uncle. Yeah, he does what he does, but he'll keep you in check.
Yeah. So this dude that I was hustling for gave me a proposition one day. He was like, because I was still living at home and I was still going to school, but I was hustling for him. He was like, you got to stop that. You got to make a choice. Either you're going to stay at home or you're going to go to school or you're going to work for me. And like an idiot, at 16, I made the choice to not only continue working for him, but I dropped out of school and I ran away from home. And this dude was one of those older dudes that really like prey on younger kids, male and female. For females, he used them for which,
He was just one of those guys that take advantage of whatever you can. They got him out there. They got those, brothers out there. Those guys out there that take up, that prey off younger brothers that and send them on missions and put them under the wing instead of giving them that enlighten
and leave you for dead.
Yeah, and leave you
Once
for dead.
Once you get jammed up and you locked up, he ain't coming with bail money. He ain't trying to do nothing for your family.
So you started working with him, and at what point you started getting in trouble and you got arrested?
So around that time that I started working for him, my uncle got murdered.
The same uncle?
Yeah, my uncle, my favorite uncle. I was in the spot. I had moved into this dude's spot. I went from a 4-story brownstone in Brooklyn to living in a crack spot. I was living in the spot that I was hustling out of, 16. And one of my friends comes to see me one day, and he was like, your mom sent me. She said, one of your uncles got murdered. If you want to know which one, you got to come home and find out.
Wow.
And so I went home, and then she told me Tracy got murdered. And then that was it. It was like a perfect storm. Everything, me being exposed to the wrong type of individual, my uncle being murdered, and then what was just going on in that environment. It was like I said, it was a really bloody time around then. And
you just fell into the loop and got lost.
Yeah.
And because that must have been hard. Your uncle, the one that you look up to, he passes away. Now you out there in the street, you hustling for this guy that don't really give a fuck about you, but you don't really know because you're young. So you thinking that it's all great, and then you get caught up. So what year you got caught up and went to jail?
19. I caught my case.
Okay.
19. I got into those guys that used to.
What year was it?
It was 1997 or 1996, and then 96.
Okay.
I believe.
And you got caught up for what?
Yeah. So one day, I get into an altercation with these guys. They were part of a gang in my neighborhood, and they used to mess with me when I was younger. I'm 19 now, and like, it's different. I'm not running. I'm not scared. It's like, when my uncle got killed, what it did to me is just made me not care about life no more. I didn't think that I was gonna live long, and so that's just how I was moving, doing a lot of crazy stuff. So these guys bumped into me, and we got into an altercation. It was like 3 of them and 1 of me, and like they're approaching me like, "Oh, this is that kid that we used to
bully and all that."
And you ain't, because they just came
built
home
like that. Yeah,
and I'm like, and it's different.
Yeah,
it's different.
They don't know that you outside.
Yeah, it's different. So one thing led to another. One of them snatched my chain. I dropped them. The other 2 jumped in. We getting it on, and then we break. And then I went to go and get my gun. I was with some females at that time, and they had told somebody else from my neighborhood what happened. So when I came out the building, there was a dude who had just came home. We weren't even cool like that, but he was like, "I'm coming with you," and I was like, "I'm good." He was like, "I'm coming with you." I'm like, "I'm good." But while I'm going back and forth with him, I'm realizing these dudes is getting away, and I'm hot. I stay hot. I stay.
Yeah, you in that zone.
Yeah, so I was like, "F it," and I allowed him to come. We went up to the projects. And so when we get there, first of all, he was on a different type of time. He was like, "Yo, let's just give it to anybody who's out there." I wasn't trying to just do that to anybody. But again, I was hot. I wasn't thinking. We walk up to the lobby. There's a bunch of people in there. And I'm like, there they go. But it wasn't just the dudes that I had the altercation with. It's a bunch of people in there. But I'm like, there they go.
Yeah.
He don't know who's who. So even though I wasn't trying to just harm anybody, I put everybody's lives in jeopardy by telling them, there they go.
Yeah.
So long story short, we wound up backing out on the security, making him open the door, and then we ran into the stairways. Everybody took off. And by the time I got to the 7th floor, there was a shot, and he came running from behind the corridor and was like, "I got one." The next day I came out and I found out that the person he killed was my friend.
Oh, man.
He just happened to be in the lobby. Those are his peoples too. He was just happened to be in the lobby hanging with them. And when we pulled up, I said, "There they go." So he's thinking everybody
was a go.
Yeah. And also my friend, like, he wasn't a slouch. When the dude went up there, he tried to like take the gun from him. So it was like a struggle.
Okay.
And he shot him.
He killed him.
He killed him. I came out the next day, found out what happened. I went on a run for a minute. He got arrested. There wasn't enough evidence to charge him, but they held on to him. And then they arrested me. And then he was like, "We know you wasn't the shooter. You know what I mean? Tell us what happened." But I refused. I was into the streets. He ended up going home, and I went to trial, and I got 25 to life for killing my friend.
But you wasn't the one that present?
It doesn't matter. Like, so, yeah, it doesn't matter. By the time, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought I shot him. The DA the DA who had my case at that time, I didn't know it. She had a reputation for doing what she did to me. She would get convictions by any means necessary. She would put witnesses on the stands that she knew was lying. The police would get
it was a lot of that shit going on back in the days. They do anything to get you to railroad you and all, to get you locked up. No, trust me, I had a lot of brothers that set up here with me as well, that they've been through a lot of similar stories. I mean, including myself. I went to jail, I ain't do it either. Them motherfuckers did everything they had to do to get me, you know what I mean? So I get it. So they came in, she did anything she had to do, and you went to trial and you blew trial.
Yeah, and the dudes who I had got it on with, they was cooperating, and like these dudes was supposed to be gangsters, and
they all came through, testified.
They only picked one, but everybody made a statement. But there was one main dude who they used to point me out in the lineup, testified to grand jury, and then come to trial. And then
you need is one.
Yeah.
So you got 25 years.
Yeah.
And you wound up going to Rikers Island.
I was in the Brooklyn House of Detention first. Then from there, I went to Rikers Island.
Okay, and how was that experience? I mean, what was going through your mind? I mean, at that
all the
age,
rumors that you hear and all the violence that. Luckily for me, like there was some really bad jails on Rikers Island that I could have went to, but I just happened to not go to. I went to a spot called West Facility, which wasn't like infamous like the Beacon or
West Facility.
HDM or anything like that. But stuff still goes down. Like you still had the
it's still jail.
Yeah, it's still jail. You still got to go to court and
it's still the same process.
It
might not be the Beacon or the Fall Building with the names and all that, but it's jail. Wow. So you went through. How was your process? What was going through your mind going over that bridge, and like what was going through your mind? At you what? 16?
19.
19 years old.
19 going on 20.
Like going over that bridge, like for a body. Now you blew trial. Like, what was going through your mind? Like, what was your mother at? What was going on?
So, shout out to my moms and shout out to my little sister. They were like the two people in my family was coming up to see me regularly, and they did what they could. And even before that, my mom's did the best that she could. So I had family in the beginning that was there for me. When I went upstate, that was a different story. But while I was on Rikers Island, I had two people coming in hard to see me, my moms and my sister.
Yeah, it gets complicated once you go up north, especially for single moms. You got to take the bus the day before to be up there early in the morning. You know, you got it's just it's not easy. You know, so so you got to 25. You got to Rikers Island. How long you was on the island for before you went up north?
I did 6 months in the Brooklyn House of Detention and 6 months on Rikers Island. I blew trial and then I got sent upstate.
Okay. When you went upstate, where you went at?
First spot is reception. That's downstate.
Downstate. How was that experience?
That was crazy. So you know, intimidation is like that's the first. I guess because the COs know they outnumbered. One of the things that they try to do is just instill fear from the jump. You know, pick somebody, jump on them in front of you, that type of stuff. You go through the whole dehumanizing process of being stripped of all your regular clothes that you might have been able to have on Rikers Island, them shaving off all your facial hair, your hair on your head, putting you in that shower area, and you got to put the solution on your body to make sure that you're not coming upstate with lice or anything. You know,
turn around, spreading your ass, showing your asshole to the white man. You know, woo, real quick, let me see your asshole. You know, that shit was you in there like, what the fuck going on around here, man? They bullying you and shit. They really bullying you. They pushing you around, right?
Yeah, jumping on people with mental health, all that.
Yeah.
And it ain't just white dudes. Like, you know, upstate, when you
it's
got
different.
Yeah, places like Clinton and Attica that's predominantly white. Yeah, it's white guards jumping on you. But one of the things that I've seen in my experience is that in prison, those guards, whether they black or white or Latino, they jump on you all the same.
Yeah, they all stick together. That's one thing about them. And no matter what color they are, they all the same up there. They go hard and they stick together, and they've been doing it for a long time. Getting over, you know, with beating us up and all that.
That's a fact.
You know, so you went up top. Where you went at?
So after downstate, I went to a spot called Green Haven.
Okay, Green Haven.
Yeah, serious prison.
Yeah, a lot of lifers in there.
A lot of back and forth wars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, spot getting shut down because somebody got stabbed or cut. When you walk the yard, you always see the holes in the ground from like police coming out there and digging up shanks and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And also like for the most part, prison isn't about rehabilitation. I do think they had programs like that in there, but I wasn't ready for that. I was trying to wrap my mind around having 25 years to life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the yard.
You was in the yard,
trying to ball and just trying to escape. And I was still going to the law library trying to fight my case, but it was really me going through the process of not believing that I got all this time because I didn't think I was going to be convicted. From what I was told, you got to prove murder beyond a reasonable doubt. I know I didn't kill the victim, so I didn't think. And then my lawyer, I just didn't think this was going to play. So
you didn't know it was going to go this far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're sitting around 25 years from downstate. Where you went at?
Green Haven.
To Green Haven. How long you was in Green
Haven? I think maybe about 2 years.
And then where you went?
From there, I went to a spot called Upstate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a box, a special housing unit.
Okay.
Special housing unit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So you went to the box?
Yeah.
Oh, so you got yourself caught up in
Yeah, so what was going on in Green Haven at the time, people were, the guys that were in there were trying to protest the conditions, like how much we were getting paid to work in industry and stuff like that.
Okay.
And, like, it was stuff like where you go to the mess hall, everybody was expected to wear their greens. You shouldn't wear no other color. Your colorful hoodies and none of that. I didn't know. So one day I went to the mess hall with my hoodie on, and the old timer came to me and was like, "What you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Just wear your greens when you go to the mess hall." It was the process of them rebelling against the conditions. So I wrote my mom's a letter like, "Yo, this is what's going on. I need you to send me money because I need to stack up on commissary. Everything's about to get shut down." And I had a cell search, and the guard came across the letter, and that jammed me up because, you know, it was.
You was more or less preparing for they think that you were involved with the whole shutdown shit.
But there was some stuff in there, like when he told me what was going on, it was like I was in support of it. So the language in my letter was also in support of it. So that's what got me jammed up. It wasn't just me telling my mom what's happening. It was, you know, this is right. You know, this is what's about to happen.
This is what we moving for.
Yeah. And so
they locked you. Yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
So you went to the box.
Yeah, 3 months in upstate, and then I came out and went to Clinton.
Shit. So how was that getting out in Clinton and going out to the yard first day, all them courts and that whole shit? How was that?
Clinton was just as serious as Green Haven, if not more serious. Gang wars, the back and forth, shit going on in the yard, having to hit the ground when shit pop off. You see a lot of stuff up there, you know.
Yeah, you see a lot of shit. You see, well, one of the worst things you seen was in jail. Well, you seen somebody had their stomach out, some shit, right?
Nah, that wasn't me.
Oh, no, you said somebody else that got when you first started. Oh, that was in the street, I think.
Yeah, I was talking about when I was in my junior high school.
Yeah, that was outside.
You see a lot of that. People walking around with $50s. Just even if you don't see it, even if you're just hearing it, there's been times when I've been in my cell or I was in my cell and the guards is jumping on somebody a few cells away, and they're just like damn near beating the life out this person, and person might be handcuffed and defenseless, just like Robert Brooks. A lot of that I've seen. Sometimes you might be walking from the mess hall and CO's got somebody against the wall and they got him handcuffed, but then they abusing the situation. He's already handcuffed. He can't do anything, but then they're lifting his arm up behind his back.
They've been doing what they've been doing what they did to Robert Brooks. They've been doing that forever.
And
you know, rest in peace, Robert Brooks.
And it's a young CO, and you like, so, and stuff like that bothers for me.
Of course it bothers
you. Go
you.
back because you also want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You was like, you seeing that, and you like
what the fuck are you doing, man? You like,
if
what
a
y'all
person
doing
isn't
to
your man, like you not also jumping out the window for somebody who you don't know, because that person might end up telling on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I didn't ask you to come to my rescue. Like
yeah,
so,
yeah, it'd be tough situations, but you there witnessing.
Yeah.
So, how long you was there?
Probably another 2 years, maybe 2.5, and then from there I transferred down to. No, I went to the box from there.
Okay.
I went to Southport.
Okay, Southport.
Yeah.
Okay, Southport was tough too.
Yeah.
The whole jail was the box, right?
Yeah. My
What year
friend
was
got
that?
into 2001 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I gotta go.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Time frame.
No, I get it because I be like that too. Yeah, it was in 2000. Yeah.
Yeah, but a friend of mine got into an incident. I was holding him down. Somebody tried to jump in. I jumped in, and I ended up getting 16 months for it.
16 months at Southport.
I did 12. You know, they gave me 16, but you get some time off for good behavior. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did a year.
I was in Southport too, and I went through hell with Southport. Southport was a tough spot. I used to be beefing with the police, shit like that. The COs, you already know, same regular shit, you know. And I was there in 90. Shit, I was there in 91. 1991. So, it was a tough. So you stayed 12 months.
Yeah.
Southport, and then you came out.
Yeah, and went to Great Meadow, Comstock.
Shit, that's another tough one. You was over there with German and Herbert.
Yeah.
They were still there?
I think so. Those names sound familiar.
Yeah, German and Herbert. This is two police. They also killed some people there and all that, got away with it and all that. When I was there, they used to fuck around. They used to fuck with me too. But how you call it? Comstock is a very it's a tough joint. And how long you was there?
Maybe for most spots I'll stay like 2 years before something happened.
Before something happened, and you bounce somewhere else and all that.
And that was the first spot that I actually transferred out of. Like I had a girlfriend.
Like a legit transfer.
Yeah, like I wasn't sent to the box. I wanted to go.
Yeah, you put the transfer in.
I had a girlfriend who was coming to see me, but it's like they got to spend the night at these places, take the bus 8 hours up. I wanted to make the visits more convenient for her, so I asked for a transfer, and that's how I ended up in Sing Sing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shit, Sing Sing, you was like, shit, I'm home. Compared to all that Comstock, Clinton, Greenhaven, all that shit is locked down. Sing Sing is a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
So how was that?
Basically, that's where I was able to change my life around that. You know, there was slight sparks or slight starts when I was upstate, like in Clinton. I started to get into studying and stuff like that, and I was moving with a group of guys that was really into like, you know, studying and being conscious. But as soon as they left, I fell off and ended up going to the box. With Sing Sing, they just had more, and it was a good time for me to be there because I was probably also ready for change.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
So,
you was ready. You was ready. You was like, okay, here, and you want to stay in Sing Sing.
Yeah. So when I got to Sing Sing, there was a old timer there. His name was Gregory Fredericks. He had mad college degrees. He had like a associate's, bachelor's, a master's degree. And the first thing he did, he gave me a book called The Prisoner's Wife, and then he enrolled me in a basic parenting course, and then and then a pre-college program, and then he would just talk to me. But that was the beginning, me taking advantage of that stuff and just realizing, like, because most prisons upstate, they're not designed to rehabilitate. You get either a job in the industry, sweatshop or the mess hall, and you basically trying to survive, or you doing some other stuff to survive and support yourself. In Sing Sing, they had college programs, they had art programs, rehabilitation through the arts. They had a lot of volunteers coming in. Upstate, you ain't got your people coming in like that, not as a volunteer.
No, because it's too far away. You already know. It's always...
Also, the superintendent, his name was Brian Fisher. He believed in rehabilitation, so he allowed a lot of stuff to go on there. And I was one of those guys that was smart enough to take advantage. I used to go down to the chapel, and they used to put the plays on, rehabilitation through the arts. It was a theater program. They just created the movie Sing Sing. I used to go down there, and I was bugging because it was like dudes that I was locked up with on stage performing with actresses. And I'm like, yo, this is dope. I got to be a part of this, And again, that's like really what changed my life around. I got involved with RTA, started doing the plays. I used to rap when I was younger. I rediscovered that I still was nice with my words and stuff. Started writing my own stuff, poetry, talking about gun violence, the things that I experienced in my community.
That's cool.
And then people would be like, yo, that shit is dope. You want to perform that, right? And I was like, no. He's like, yo, our people need to hear that shit.
Yeah,
perform
you
that
need
shit.
to get up there and do that.
And then I started to do that, and then the response that I got, like, yo,
That's cool.
that shit was powerful.
Yeah.
And then from RTA, I got involved in. So when I went to prison, I was a 9th grade dropout with a 6th grade education. Inside, I was able to get my GED, my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, and I was halfway through completing my master's degree before I received executive clemency. But I was one of those guys that was smart enough to eventually take advantage of what.
You did your thing. You got focus.
Yeah, I got focused. I started
We
to
love
realize
that.
one day I'm coming
We
home.
love that. That's right.
One day I'm coming home.
One day you coming home because everything should pass. You know what I mean? I know it gets tough in the beginning, like, damn, 25 years. But that shit all go, believe me, it'll all shit pass. And then, so you came home when?
And I got clemency in 2018, and I came home in the beginning of 2019.
You got clemency for what?
Governor. So clemency just means mercy. It's
Right.
a certain power that the governor has to commute your sentence, to lighten it. My bid was 25 years to life, meaning that I would do 25 years, and after that, see a parole. And they could either let me go or hit me with another 2 years. Clemency just shortened my bid, so I was at 22 years when he granted that. I came home after 22 years. And I was on post-release supervision for the remainder of the 3.
Okay.
And I successfully completed that, and I've been out here for 6 years now.
God bless, man.
Thank you.
So you came home when?
2019, beginning of 2019.
And what you been doing?
First, when I came home, I was working for Exodus. Exodus Transitional Community is an organization that was started by somebody who's formerly incarcerated. His name is Julio Medina. And what they do is help people make the transition from inside to outside. I was a case manager for him for about a year and a half, about 2 years.
Okay.
I came home. Julio is the one who helped me get clemency. My ex-wife used to work for him. And she used to go to work every day crying and talking about me. And he was like, yo, well, I'm part of this board, and I know some lawyers, and the governor's pushing this clemency thing. I'm going to get him a lawyer, and I'm going to advocate for him. He helped get me home. He got me the lawyers, and then he also advocated for me.
What a blessing, huh?
Yeah,
That's cool.
And he got me home. And then when I got home, he had a job waiting for me. I came in as a junior case manager. 6 months later, I was promoted to senior case manager. And I did that for about 2 years, but then I broke away and I started my own organization.
Okay.
Finish Strong Wellness Center. It's a free after-school program for youth. So the things that I talked about earlier is called trauma.
Right.
For us, the way we grew up, it was normal for us.
Yeah,
to
it was
grow
normal, but it's
violent,
trauma.
But it's trauma. It was traumatic. It's called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. Growing up, being neglected, abused, exposed to violence. And those things, like, could fuck up the trajectory of your life.
Facts.
It could cause you to have mental health issues. It can shorten your lifespan.
Facts.
So, and I learned about that through my ex. My ex-wife is the one, when I was inside, she used to send me books, and I learned about, because I was like, wow, You know, one of the best books that she sent me is Lost Boys, How Our Sons Turn Violent and How We Can Save Them. You know, because I had to go through a process with understanding myself. Because in prison, they just tell you in here because of you. It's just you, something wrong with you.
Right.
But reading and like, nah, I went through some shit.
Yeah,
it ain't just me.
Yeah.
I went through some shit. And
I made choices. Trauma. Yeah, you made fucked up choices.
Yeah.
But you was all the cause of the trauma that you've been through.
So with that, and then me working for Julio, I appreciated it. But then there was a lot of brothers coming home that didn't get the help that they needed when they was inside and they was going back. You know, if you go in there with a substance abuse problem, you're not going to receive real treatment to address it. So you're probably still going to come home with a substance abuse problem.
Yeah, you're still
you got a mental health problem, you're going to go inside and your mental health is probably going to be exacerbated worse. You know, you came home, you went in there violent. If guards is jumping on you and you surrounded by that back and forth gang wars, why would you change? There's nothing in prison, the way that it's set up now, to make people rehabilitate. Yeah. So that's why the recidivism rate is about 60 to 70%. Most people who come home, 60 to 70% of the people who come home reoffend within the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Because it's not designed to make you better. When I was in Sing Sing and we had those college programs, those art programs, the guards used to be upset about that shit. Like, yo, why y'all got this? It's so we don't come back. Because the reality is that 90% of us are one day coming home. And if nothing changes up here, I'm only going to be worse when I do.
Facts. You're only going to get in trouble more.
So me working for Julio and like working with the men that were coming home and having them go right back or having them struggle. Like this was during COVID. And I'm seeing people, you know, social services is closing their doors. Dudes is going right back. People on my caseload is dying. I was like, I want to do something about this. And so I wanted to create a youth program to protect those kids from ACEs, to give youth a safe place where they could come to and get the support that they need. So that way they don't end up incarcerated. They don't end up dead. So I created my own youth program called Finish Strong Wellness Center. And I had no experience. Finish Strong Wellness Center.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was doing that for about 4 years. And then that led to me getting another job for another nonprofit. And I've just been doing my thing, man.
That's what's up, man. So you active.
Very active.
Very active. Very active.
I had a lot of people like those volunteers, those organizations, the college programs that poured into me. You know, that helped to change my life around. And what I want to do is just show people that you didn't waste your time pouring into me.
That's right.
When you was building programs, when you was volunteering your time, when you was pouring into me, because at one point I didn't have family. I spoke about my moms and my sister being there in the beginning. There was a point where I didn't have family and I didn't have visits, and I was just in there going through it. You know, but those programs, I had those people coming in, and those people were pouring in me.
They kept you motivated. They kept you going.
Yeah.
They be having them carols and all that, right? Going up north, the carols like that church, they go in there, they be having
I don't know about
it's a lot, it's so much programs, you know, from people that go in for
me it was the arts program and it was the college programs, those two things.
Those got you focused.
Yeah. And everything else, then I started to give back.
You got kids?
No, I have a girlfriend though, and she has a daughter, and I'm considered like a father figure to her child.
That's good. And you there?
Yeah.
That's what's up. And you went home for a minute.
Past 6 years.
Yeah, you've been home. You've been home focused. What you think about prison reform?
It's necessary. It's everything I just spoke about, you know. But you also got people fighting against it. You know, you see what happened with Robert Brooks, and that was upsetting because it's like, why it took so long for them to get charged? Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to you, you know, because you know the system. You know how foul and how fucked up upstate could be, how different it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? From being in our city, you know, in the city, you know, you get beat up, you go through, but it's different. Up there, it's like they stay together, and it's a whole different. It's a different culture. It's a whole different.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by it, but when it being recorded and then it getting out and it being in the public's face, and then so now y'all see what they did, and there's no justifying it, and we were still waiting for them to get arrested. And then, like, you know, social media, you got a lot of guards on social media and trying to defend that shit. It's like, yo, that shit is, how do you defend that?
Yeah, like
one guard said he should have not been resistant. The man was handcuffed. He was handcuffed
the whole time.
And any resistance that he might have could have. First of all, I don't see any resistance in that film. But if somebody's trying to choke you, your body is naturally gonna try to. But it's like, yo, but
Listen, man, they're gonna try to justify what happened. Robert Brooks was murdered. You know what I'm saying? And we all know that. We all witnessed that. The whole world witnessed that. And it's about time that get exposed, because we've been dealing with that our whole time. It's like everybody that come home it's like we all know the secret. You know you get beat up, and you know when you go to certain jails, right? You know when you go to Comstock, if you look certain way, when you get to the basement in the Comstock, they put your head on the wall on the wall and have you with your hands, and they spread. You know they're abusive. They do all kind of this all shit that is just like it's not humane. You know they do that, and we was used to that. We thought that was like the norm. That's this part of the process. You go to Comstock, or you going back to Comstock, or you already know what it is, or you going back to where? Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so you know, it's a sad thing, but it's finally gonna get exposed. Hopefully, we get to expose.
Yeah, hopefully. But being somebody of color, we still gotta pray for justice, because even though they got arrested, we now gotta hope that they don't get a messed up jury who sympathizes with them.
Yeah, because
or if they do get found guilty, if Trump or somebody doesn't pardon them, you know, like.
No, I don't got that going down. I got. We have to worry about them getting found guilty because of remember where they from. So you know, their cousins is the district attorney. Their sister is the judge. Cousins are married to. You know the vibe. You know how they keep it up there. They keep that shit tight. So let's just hope that we could get justice. You know, we expect justice. You know what I mean? And like it's a tough, man. It's tough, man. But
I mean, it's crazy because they feel justified in doing that because the people who are inside committed a crime. But you don't look at that as a crime.
Yeah.
You don't look at it as a crime when you handcuff somebody
crazy.
And then you beat them to death. You don't think that's a crime. It's called murder. It's a gang assault that went to murder. But he was an inmate. And when they throw that term around inmates, like you're the lowest life form.
Yeah, your life. Yeah. You don't deserve you ain't got no rights.
Yeah.
You got your rights in your life, man.
Or they say, well, he did something to go in there. Yeah, he did something. He was being punished. He was serving his time. He was serving his time, yes.
And
all these protests and everything, they just want those guys who did that to him to do the same thing, for justice to be across the board.
Yes.
He did something wrong. He was sent to prison. That's what should be done for y'all. When you handcuff somebody behind their back and you beat them to death, you should get the same justice.
Man, listen, man. We're gonna expect, man. We're gonna definitely keep the audience. You know, we're gonna watch. We're gonna see what happens, man. We definitely need some justice, man, for Robert Brooks, man. You know, and his family.
And for Messiah and everybody else that
absolutely, for all of us, because we all went through this. We all got beat up, pounded out, and at one point or the other by the police. You know what I'm saying? I can speak that for myself. You know what I'm saying? They used to beat me up, knock my tooth out in the back. They used to have me in my cell laid up for days. You know what I'm saying? Without eating, I couldn't even get up.
Yeah.
You know, so.
You got spots like Attica that's infamous for that type of abuse.
Facts.
You just know.
Off top. You know what I'm saying? So, but I want to thank you, King, man, for coming through, man. I appreciate having you.
Thank you for
having me. You know what I'm saying?
I
encourage you, keep doing the right, keep doing greatness. You know, it seems like you're in the right path. You're looking good. You know what I'm saying? Just know that you can always come up here. Anything you want to share, you know, anything you want to share with the audience, you know, with the youth, or anybody out there watching us, you know, you're more than welcome to, you know, share that. And you know where to find you. Anything, you know, anybody going through some changes, they might need some help, whatever. Anything you could enlighten anybody with out there, you're more than welcome, man. You know, this is our platform. This is what it's designed for. So we could get ours all, because you know when you're in jail, you don't have a voice. You know what I'm saying? So this is your voice.
The youth, the only thing I want to say is, man, take advantage of opportunities, man, and be yourself. Those are two things that I didn't do prior to going inside. I wasn't secure in being myself. And I didn't take advantage of opportunities. When I was inside, I learned how to be myself and say, fuck whatever people think about me. I'm going to do me. Instead of going out to the yard every day doing bullshit, I'm going to go to this college program. I'm going to be me.
That's right.
I'm going to take advantage of these opportunities. And that shit worked out for me.
That's right. Of course they did. Well, with that being said, man, you already know it's your boy Pistol Pete, dog in the yard. What up? You already know what it is, your boy Pistol Pete. Welcome back to Dog in the Yard. First and foremost, I want to thank Dennis for the work you're doing up there in Poughkeepsie with your program. As we all know, Dennis is the founder of Finishing Strong Awareness Center, and he's up there in Poughkeepsie doing greatness. And I appreciate that. Just know you can always count on Dog in the Yard. For those brothers out there, the youth, please tune in. You know what I mean? Just know that it's real. Jail is real, and you already know. With that being said, Dennis, we love you here. You already know. Come back anytime you want. Boy, Pistol Pete, Dog in the Yard.